Hello everyone, and welcome back to DevOps Journal. In today's session, we'll dive into an exciting topic: how to trigger Azure pipelines using REST API. Recently, I was assigned a task to trigger over 300 Azure DevOps pipelines to fetch the latest vulnerability reports for all our microservices. Manually triggering each pipeline wasn't feasible, it would have taken a huge amount of time. So, I explored ways to automate the process and came across two potential solutions. 1. Using the Azure CLI AZ command to trigger pipelines. 2. Leveraging the Azure DevOps REST API. While the Azure CLI is a great tool, I found it to be relatively slower for this large-scale task. So, I opted for the REST API for its efficiency and flexibility. In this video, I'll walk you through how I automated the process of triggering all 300 plus pipelines using the Azure DevOps REST API. Prerequisites. 1. You need list of pipelines. 2. ADO token to authenticate. 3. Python environment to trigger the pipelines. Here is an action plan. 1. Create a Python script to trigger ADO pipelines using REST API. 2. Script should accept the CSV input file with pipeline name and branch. 3. Script should print the success message after triggering each pipeline. Let's dive into the demo. Here is my repo where I am updating the daily DevOps codes. Navigate to Trigger ADO Pipelines directory. This Python script automates the process of triggering Azure DevOps pipelines for specific branches using a CSV file as input. How this Python REST API script works? Dynamically fetch pipeline IDs based on their names. Trigger pipelines for specified branches. Process multiple pipelines and branches from a CSV file. Includes error handling for missing pipelines, API failures, and file errors. It requires Python 3 environment and required modules are listed here. How to use. Download or clone the repo to your machine. Configure the script with organization, project and personal access token. Next, prepare the CSV file with list of pipeline names and branches in which build needs to be triggered. Save the file in the name of pipelines.csv. Let's check out the script. First, we are importing the required modules for the automation. In the configuration section, we need to update your organization, project name, and personal access token. The first function is responsible to get the pipeline IDs from the given pipeline names. To trigger the pipeline, you need the pipeline ID. The next function is to trigger the pipeline using given branch and pipeline IDs. Log success if the API returns status code 201 created. Logs failure if the API returns any other status code. The next function is the main function, which reads the CSV files and calls the above functions to get the pipeline IDs and triggers the pipeline. At last, you have the script entry point, which ensures the script is executed with a CSV file path as an argument. Let's navigate to the Azure DevOps Console and select the organization and project where you plan to trigger the pipeline builds. In my case, the pipeline is set up in the training project. Here is my repository, which contains the Java code for the build. Now, I'll switch to the pipeline section to show you the configured pipeline. Each pipeline within a project has a unique pipeline ID. Let's switch to the Linux console where you've cloned the repository containing the Python script and the configured pipelines.csv file. Now, execute the Python script to trigger the Azure DevOps pipeline builds for the specified pipelines. Here, we can see that the pipeline has been successfully triggered. In my case, I included only one pipeline name and branch, but you can define multiple entries as per your requirements. Depending on the Azure DevOps agent's capacity, builds may either trigger in parallel or wait until agents become available. Now, let's go back to the Azure DevOps Console to verify if the build has been triggered. As we can see, the pipeline job has started, and it's currently building the Docker image. I hope you enjoyed this demo. I'll be back with another exciting topic in the next video. Until then, goodbye from the DevNixOps team.